Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tea with Pastor B. I want to thank you for joining me today for another week in this strange, crazy world we live in. It's a pretty foggy day outside here in South City, and so it's kind of ironic that it's foggy because the tone I'm going to have today is more of a tone of lament, and that's in response to some of these news stories that we've seen this week in regards to the racism that we continue to see plaguing our nation. And it's just so disheartening to turn on social media and to, just see these news stories just with it's the same story every time. It's another individual of color, another individual who is an ethnic minority that has been oppressed by people of power, people of privilege, specifically in this week's story, the white people who have abused their power, abused their positions to enact these acts of racism. And so I am infuriated. I'm heartbroken, and we've had this situation in Minneapolis where this man was murdered by a white police officer, this African American man who said he couldn't breathe. The video shows it very clearly happening, and that there is no mercy given to this man. And then you have the other individual, this other African American man who was just minding his own business, bird watching in Central Park, and a white woman decides to use her privilege to try to call the cops on him. Just because he's asking her to keep her dog under control, on the leash, like she was supposed to. And so it's just infuriating to see these stories time after time, and there just seems to be no end in sight for this. And so today, as a pastor, as an individual, especially as a white person, I just want to first I want to ask God, forgive me, Lord, for any kind of racial bias that I might have in my own heart, and also forgive me for standing on the sidelines for so long and just watching these things happen. As Christians, we are called to make God's invisible kingdom visible in this world. And so the church, we should be active in stepping up and standing in solidarity with those who are oppressed, with those who are being taken advantage of. We see the theme time after time in the Bible where the people of Israel were called by God to stand up for those who could not fend for themselves. Whenever the nation of Israel overtook other nations, they were still commanded to take care of the poor, take care of the needy, take care of those who could not take care of themselves. And that includes these acts of racism. We are all made in God's image. And as image bearers, we should be working towards justice and reconciliation. And so this afternoon, as I join you today, I just want to ask you, where do you stand in all of this? What are your thoughts on some of the things that we're seeing here in the media, how these events as they unfold? And I also just want to take a moment just to share a prayer with you, a prayer of lament. It's a prayer that I found online. It was written, ironically, it was written 4 years ago by a pastor named Prince Rivers. He's an African-American pastor in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And the prayer is called A Prayer of Lament for Those Who Cannot Breathe. How ironic is that? A prayer for those who cannot breathe. In light of the news that we had this week with the man that could not breathe and his life was taken from him, I want to share this prayer with you. This prayer was given in the context of an African American community, and so I've edited a little bit of it to make more sense coming from a white person such as myself. But as I share this prayer with you, I just want you to listen to it and just let the words penetrate your heart. I hope that these words will just stir in you a sense of hunger for justice for our brothers and sisters who are oppressed today. So let me read this prayer to you, and let me pray it as I read it. A prayer of lament for those who cannot breathe. Holy God, a cloud of grief hangs heavy over my head, and I feel like I cannot breathe. So give me the strength to pray. I raise my hands toward the sky, and I lift my eyes to the hills, which is where my help comes from. Lord, when the names of people who have been choked, shot and assaulted is too many to count, I know that not one soul has been forgotten by mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, cousins and friends. They remember laughs and smiles, dreams and struggles, talents and personalities. Now these men and women are gone forever. Father, how long must we listen to the cries and screams as blood stains the sidewalk? How many videos must we watch before we begin to see a change? Help me, God. Help us. Help the people of Minneapolis and New York City. Help our nation. Help us examine ourselves. Help those of us who are sad and angry not to let these deaths be in vain. We do not pray for vengeance, but we thirst for justice. We hope for healing between neighbors and officers called to protect and serve. We long for the day when young men will live long enough to be old men, and parents will not have to say goodbye too soon. My hope is in you, God. Our hope is in you, God. Deliver my friends from all the fears they have that are based on their race. Let those who are white like me stand in solidarity with them and stand for justice. Oh God, come quickly to help us. Oh Lord, come quickly to save us. In the name of the one who came that we might have life and have life more abundantly. Amen. Amen. This afternoon, I want to encourage you, I want to challenge you to think about where you stand in all this. Don't be a bystander. Don't be one who just watches the news and stands on the side. I want to encourage you to take some kind of action. Right now, I'm not exactly sure what that looks like, but my heart is stirred to take some kind of action. That might be, whenever our church reopens at some point, that might be us having a special kind of public forum, a public event where we bring a panel of different people of different races to talk about the racism that we experience in our community and find ways to alleviate that, find ways to make a difference in our own community here. I want to be active in that, and I want to stand with my brothers and sisters who are oppressed, and I want to be with them in helping God's justice be brought into this world. So I just want to encourage you in that. I miss each and every one of you. I'm sorry if some of you may not have heard from me recently. I've been trying to contact people in our church just to check in with them. And so if you haven't gotten a call or text from me or some kind of communication, I apologize for that. I'm working on it. I've just been slammed with a lot of stuff going on, a lot of busyness going on with the crazy world we're in. And so I want to just apologize to you, just to let you know I do care about you. I am praying for you, and I do think of you and think of you often. And, I can't wait to be with you again. I'm not sure, I still don't have the answer to that. We're waiting on San Mateo County to kind of give us some guidance on, what will be allowed here in our own region. And then based on that information, our leadership team will make a decision on when our church should, reopen for services. And the thing is, our church has never closed. We are still actively doing ministry. God is still at work. God is still moving within our ministry, within our city. And so whenever we reopen, it's not going to be called a reopening. It's more of a regathering. We're all spread out and we're dispersed right now in our homes, but that doesn't mean that God is not moving right now. And so I just want to encourage you to be encouraged and to have hope during this time. So I love you all. Have a wonderful afternoon. And as we continue to pray for these situations in our nation, I just want to encourage you to stand up and do something. Stand in solidarity with those who are oppressed. And just let the Spirit of God take over you as you begin to think about how you can responsibly react to these things that are going on. So with that, I'll say goodbye. I'll drink my tea and say, go and sin no more.